The richest woman in the room isn't always the loudest, nor the most exposed. Often she's not even on the radar. She doesn't post every win, show every achievement, or feel the need to prove anything to anyone. She simply grows, quietly, and with surgical precision. Today, we're talking about those women, not the ones living off digital flaunting, but the ones building solid wealth, influencing through posture, and transforming everything they touch with strategy. They don't make a show of themselves, but when you discover who they are, you realize they're light years ahead. I've been with them, in discreet rooms, business dinners, private mentoring, and I noticed a pattern. It's not the loudest who lead. It's the smartest at execution. These women have different habits, small ones, almost invisible to those who only see the surface. But these habits are what make it so that, while some struggle to be noticed, others are sought after and paid without begging for attention. Today you'll learn the 7 habits that build quietly rich women, and if you apply them even when no one's watching, the world will start to notice, even if you stay silent. If this resonates, go ahead and like and subscribe now. What's coming next will show you how true wealth is built behind the scenes. 1. They control the environment with energy, not volume. Have you noticed that some women don't need to speak loudly to command a room? They walk in and something in the air shifts. It isn't about over-the-top looks or flashy designer labels. It's about posture, presence, intentional silence. Quietly rich women don't waste energy trying to be seen. They draw attention by what they emanate, not by what they shout. And it starts long before the bank balance grows. It starts when they understand that authority isn't won through volume, but through clarity of positioning. Once I joined a gathering of major female investors. One of them, unrecognized at first, arrived without bodyguards or a fuss. She wore minimalist elegance, but her gaze was steady, deliberate, direct. When she spoke, the room fell silent. Every word seemed measured, and everyone listened. Later, I learned she was responsible for a portfolio of companies valued at 9 figures. Her secret? I never let my energy dissipate trying to prove who I am. I'd rather let the room discover it on its own. That's the first habit. You don't need to announce you've arrived when your presence already speaks for you. Comment below, "My presence is my business card," if this concept inspires you to sharpen your energy before your words. 2. They observe 10 times before they speak once. While the world rushes to opine, respond, and post, quietly rich women cultivate a simple, brutally effective habit: observation. They enter a meeting, negotiation, or social event, and spend most of the time just listening. It's not passivity. It's strategy. They know whoever observes first acts with precision. Those who speak too much expose themselves. I recall a mentor who, during a business pitch round, listened to everyone talk for nearly an hour. When she finally spoke, she asked a single question that dismantled one of the business models. With calm, with elegance, no hostility. It was pure clarity. Later, she explained, "The first to speak risks building on sand. I prefer to build on certainty. This habit isn't just for meetings. They apply it to everything. Social media, relationships, investments. They don't rush. They don't decide under pressure. They know silence can be a competitive advantage, and maybe the most powerful. By speaking less, they make each word carry more weight, more value, more impact. Have you practiced strategic silence before acting? Comment below. Observation is my advantage, if this habit has already begun to change how you show up in spaces. They protect their behind the scenes like it's a state secret. Quietly rich women share a trait. You rarely know what's actually happening in their lives. Not because they have something to hide, but because they understand not everything needs to be told to be validated. While everyone shares behind the scenes of launches, signed contracts, and meetings with high-profile people, they keep an air of mystery, because they know the noise can draw the wrong attention, create external expectations, and even attract premature sabotage. A real estate entrepreneur once told me something I'll never forget. My moves only make news when they're irreversible. Until then, only silence walks with me. That same woman had already purchased 5 properties across different states before posting anything, and only shared one of them months later, with strategic intent. This habit isn't about shyness. It's about personal governance. It's knowing that behind the scenes is the construction zone, not entertainment. That solid results don't need an audience. They protect their plans, their connections, their gains, their next moves, and only reveal what's already consolidated or what can inspire without overexposure. Do you keep your evolution to yourself, or are you sharing everything too soon? Comment, "I protect my process." if you understand that silence can be a form of shielding. 4. They master the art of saying no, without explanations. A quietly rich woman has a habit that seems small, but changes everything. She says no naturally, without justifying, without dancing around someone else's discomfort. And more importantly, she feels no guilt about it. This is a major dividing line between those who grow and those who burn out. Because saying yes all the time is easy. What's hard is declining with firmness and grace, especially in a world that expects women to always be available, helpful, and pleasant. A lawyer and investor I followed during a career transition once told me, "The first thing I did when I started growing was train my no. I learned to turn down invitations, partnerships, conversations, even clients. That's when my business truly became profitable." She created a filter. Does this contribute to my energy, my growth, or my profit? If the answer was no to all three, then the no came right after. Blunt, direct, respectful. Quietly rich women know every wrong yes costs time, peace, money, vision, and that those who can't say no to the small will never handle the big. They don't make excuses. They don't fill uncomfortable silences. They simply set boundaries naturally. Do you struggle to say no without explaining? Comment below, "My no is a power move," if this is a habit you're ready to master. 5. They maintain a continuous cycle of private education. There's a huge difference between consuming content for distraction and studying to decide. Quietly rich women don't study for trends. They build a private, ongoing education system, fueled by intention, not hype. They know that access to quality information is one of the greatest assets for any woman building and sustaining wealth. That's why they have solid learning rituals, biographies, reports, specific mentorships, short courses, strategic audiobooks, all chosen with one filter. Does this directly contribute to my intellectual and financial growth? An investor I know has a peculiar habit. She studies for 40 minutes every morning before 9 a.m. It's like sharpening the knife before using it. "I never start a day without preparing to think better," she says. And yes, it makes a difference. Because every time she speaks in a meeting, her arguments come loaded with real-world references. They don't study to show off. They study to decide with more power. And they do it off stage, without applause, while the world wastes time on distractions. Are you treating your learning as a priority or just a pastime? Comment below. I study to decide better, if this habit needs to be activated more strategically in your routine. 6. They build reputation in silence and defend it firmly. While many chase visibility at all costs, quietly rich women focus on something else, building reputation and protecting it as a high-value asset. They know reputation is what speaks for them even when they're not in the room. It's not about fame. It's about trust. And trust isn't built with viral videos, but with consistency between speech and delivery, between positioning and action. A businesswoman I admire works in logistics, still a male-dominated field. Her personal brand is practically unknown to the general public, but within her market, her name is synonymous with precision. She once told me, "I never cared about being seen. I've always cared about being remembered, by the right people." She doesn't post everything, but what she posts is intentional. She doesn't show up at every event, but when she does, her positioning is flawless. And above all, she doesn't let her image be distorted. She corrects, confronts, and defends, strategically and without noise. Women like her know a clean reputation is accumulated capital, that you can grow in silence, but you can't sustain wealth without solid credibility. Have you been investing in your silent reputation? Comment below. I build without shouting, if you feel it's time to sharpen your authority away from the noise. 7. They expand without losing their center. The final habit that sets quietly rich women apart is the hardest to maintain, and perhaps the most valuable. They grow, expand, invest, innovate, but never lose their grounding. While many get drunk on early success, chasing more visibility, more applause, more exposure, these women grow with roots. They aren't fooled by what they've achieved. They stay connected to their vision, values, and standards. I met a tech entrepreneur who, after a sudden spike in revenue, was flooded with interview requests, partnerships, and awards. She turned down almost all of it. She said, "I can't allow myself to be consumed by projection. I'm still consolidating. I need to grow with a center." She understood something few do. Financial growth without emotional structure turns into disguised instability. So she kept the same rituals, the same focus practices, the same circle of advisors. They don't become prisoners of their own success. On the contrary, the more they grow, the more organized, discreet, and centered they become. They use growth as a tool, not as an identity. That's the final secret. They don't need to look bigger than they are, because they're building something that's already big from the inside out. Do you feel your internal structure is growing at the same pace as your results? Comment below. I grow with center, if this reflection hit a strategic point in your journey. Throughout this video, you've learned the 7 habits that build quietly rich women. They're not flashy habits, not stage tricks. They're daily postures, quiet, discreet. And that's exactly why they work. Because while others are busy trying to look big, these women are busy becoming unshakable. These women don't chase attention. They appear because they know where they're going. And every step is strategic, built with foundation, depth, and elegance. If you feel that you carry this silent potential inside you, this strength that doesn't need to be explained, only practiced, comment below, I am quietly rich. Let's find out who's on this journey with clarity. And if this video brought you value, real value, not just entertainment, leave a like, share it with a woman who needs to hear this, and subscribe to the channel now. Here, the content is direct, sharp, made for those who don't just want to look rich. They want to be. Remember, noise may draw attention, but intentional silence builds empires.